For more on this story, we're joined by Prince Mashele, political analyst. Thank you so much, Ntate Mashele, for your time this evening. Did the president break the law, looking at the developments around the story since it broke last week?
Thank you very much for inviting me. Look, we obviously don't know the full details of what happened in 2020 February on the president's farm. But he has confirmed that a theft of money has taken place as alleged by Mr. Fraser in his farm. But he obviously disputes some claims made by Mr. Fraser. For example, he claims that the money that Mr. Fraser is alleging was stolen is not true. The amount was smaller than that. But the problem is that the president did not open a criminal case when this alleged theft happened. The fact that there is no case number by the police suggests that the president did not open a case. And if there is a theft in your property, you do two things. Number one, you either sit on it because you don't want to be implicated or you don't want the public to know, or you go report a case. The fact that the president did not report a case suggests that he was scared of something. So now that the matter is in the public domain, it needs to be fully investigated by a credible authority. The problem is that a matter of this nature has to be investigated by forces over which the president presides. The police, for example, and the NPA has to take a decision with regard to whether or not there's a criminal case to be answered. So the public is correct to be suspicious that this matter will not be fully investigated while the president is in office, because by virtue of him continuing to occupy office, that gives him power to influence the direction and the details of the investigation. That, for me, is the worrying aspect of this saga.
So listening to you, then you do agree with UDM Leader Bantu Holomisa that he must take a leave of absence?
When you are being investigated, it's normal in South African common law for you to step aside while you are being investigated. So that you are the president doesn't mean anything if we operate in a situation or a context where there is a rule of law. No one is above the law. So I agree with General Holomisa that the best thing for the president to do is to step aside in order for there not to be a perception that he will be interfering with an investigation.
So looking at the fact that, as you alluded to, he says that money was less, and he also talks about not having stolen taxpayers' money in, closing of the conference in Limpopo. Other people have been saying that this appears to be a deviation from the matter at hand, that suspects were allegedly tortured and there were briberies, also the claims flying about there, even claims of kidnapping. Is he deviating from the current matter at hand?
Look, there are a number of allegations involved here. One is that millions of US dollars, about $4 million US dollars, were stolen. In that allegation alone, you can see that if that is true, there is criminality involved. How does someone keep $4 million US dollars in his house without notifying the tax authorities? Remember, this took place in 2020, and he confirms it took place in 2020. Why did he not inform SARS that he has been keeping such huge amounts of money in his house? That's number one. Number two, there are allegations that people were tortured as a result of this theft. Now, if that is correct, he can't escape culpability because such a torture would have happened linking his property. So in my view, the president has serious criminal questions to answer. And therefore, he must allow this investigation to happen without him being perceived to be interfering in it by continuing to be in office.
And Ntate Mashele, I'm keen to hear from you then on your thoughts with this one, because some are saying that this is part of a political fight back with Arthur Fraser, a man who has always been seen as an ally of former President Jacob Zuma at the forefront. Do you think this is it?
Look, that argument, by the way, those who are making it, including the president himself, are actually borrowing a leaf from Jacob Zuma's book. You will remember that for many years, Jacob Zuma has been hiding behind the claim that he was being prosecuted politically. There are two things here. If there is an allegation that you have committed a crime, that allegation, the substance of it, need to be dealt with. Number two, it is true that those who are making the allegations may not like you politically or personally. That is neither here nor there. We know that Arthur Fraser and the president are not friends, but that's not the issue. We are not interested in their friendship or their political fights. We as the public, we are interested to know as to whether a man who is charged with protecting our constitution, that is the president, has committed crime or not. That must be investigated. Whatever little political fights they may be having on the side, let them continue to have them, but that's not our business as the public.
Dr. Mashele, I'd like to ask you this question very briefly as we round up our discussion. What do you think are some of the political repercussions from this looking ahead to December?
Two implications. Number one, Cyril Ramaphosa is the last man with a semblance of credibility defending the ANC. The whole party's morality has been hollowed out. So if there are allegations as serious as this, his personal integrity is in question. It means, therefore, he can no longer claim to be a champion in the fight against corruption. This means that his opponents within the ANC will use this as an example that he is not holier than thou. So the implications are the political waters in the ANC will be muddied, and he is going to be sullied by this.
All right, Dr. Mashele, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to speak to you. We'll continue to monitor the story and see what happens, because we do know that, there is, of course, that NWC meeting. And we did, of course, also reach out to the ANC in order to try and get their response to this. And we were told that there is an NWC meeting that is taking place, and we will be getting a response in due course. So we'll continue to track developments around this. That was political analyst Prince Mashele. Time now for a quick ad break.